Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
In my association with Project Group, they definitely withheld information.
The whole fleet of them, look on the ASA. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely.
Welcome back to Total Disclosure, everyone. Sorry about the tardiness. That was my fault. I overnapped. My alarm didn't go off. I've been up since 3 in the morning, so I that was my bad. And then I had some technical difficulties, had to reboot the computer. Obviously, everything that can go wrong will go wrong. Always expect that. But we're here. We're live. We're with Teresa Tyndall tonight, as usual when we're live. And we're going to be talking about some emails that the Black Vault released between David GRUSCH and Arrow, kind of that go against what David GRUSCH told the public, that he was never formally contacted by them for any such interviews. But the email says otherwise. So there's some controversy there, as well as recently declassified project called KONA Blue. I kept calling it Coda Blue in my head and writing that, but it's KONA Blue, even though I've been looking at the document probably 9-10 times. We'll bring Teresa in for this little rant. But hey, Teresa, how you doing?
Hey, Ty, good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Thank you for understanding my tardiness.
We've all been there. You work really long days. I don't know how you do it. 3 a.m. till, I guess it's 9 p.m. your time now. That's a long day, Ty. Yeah. And you're still completely lucid and have it together, and you work a long day. So
yeah. Well, it is what it is. We're here now. And like I said, we have a bunch of things to talk about, and it's there a new SCIF meeting happened. But there is with the KONA Blue release came a lot of confusion, and that's what I want. I kind of wanted to talk about first, because I think so KONA Blue is a remote viewing project that was proposed, and from the looks of it, some form of it did get through. Obviously, we know things like Project Stargate with the CIA and SRI happened, but this one got declassified, and all the slides of the proposed special access program, unacknowledged, by the way, this would have been. So this would have been one of those projects that was buried so deep, compartmentalized so much that, Joe wouldn't have known Tom was working with him. It's one of those ones. So I found it to be interesting that they declassified this, but they did. And it's raised yet again the attention to AAWSAP, the program that was funded by people like Harry Reid and Daniel Inouye back in the Skinwalker Ranch days. And that's Jim Lukatsky. He ran that program, the AAWSAP program. By the time it had gotten to LUE Elizondo, who probably did head some form of government AA meeting, if you will. Like, it wasn't funded, but they were doing it as a hobby. So they had their day job, and then they would go and they would task themselves and group together, work together, and try to keep this project up on its feet in hopes for more funding. But ATIP was a moniker that was used to try to get special access program so they could get extra funding for AAWSAP, which again was the 22 million over multiple fiscal years. I believe it was 10 million and then 12 million that was given over multiple years to Bigelow, who won the contract from Harry Reid. So there's no denying this. That is how the New York Times had it wrong. ATIP was just a moniker. So ATIP was also what they picked up to separate it from the funded program once LUE Elizondo came around. And there's no doubt in my mind that he probably did had some sort of investigation for the government, for the Pentagon, but it wasn't funded. It was more like a grassroots effort. And that's commendable in itself. I don't understand why there's been so much confusion around it. It's, I guess, the problem.
I have not heard of this KONA Blue. So can you give us some background? Okay, yeah.
Well, we'll go through the whole thing, but this slide in particular. So the community right now, UFO Twitter, is saying that, and listen, I like LUE Elizondo. I think he's, like I said, commendable. I think his CV speaks for itself. But there's just been this narrative that he has not himself fixed. And John Greenwald of the Black Vault has recently called it back out, and there was some real back and forth, if you will, between him and Matt Ford of the Good Trouble Show, and calling John Greenwald Jr. an idiot. But he's not. He's right to be skeptical. He's been doing this for 25 years. So this slide, not only does it not mention LUE Elizondo, but it mentions only two people. And those are the two people in the whole thing that are dead, that you can't go ask for questions, right? And that's Senator Reid and Daniel Inouye, who's also a decorated World War II veteran, by the way. He gave that speech about the shadow government to the UN, about what I tied to the Michael Herrera stuff, a shadow government that operates outside governmental means. That's that guy. That's why they secretly gave the money, the 22 million, because they knew that this was something worth studying. Daniel had been in World War II. He had heard stories of the Foo Fighters, yada, yada, yada. It goes on and on. But LUE Elizondo does need to come out. He needs to come out of hiding. We know his book is done. It's going through the DOBSER process. And I think LUE needs to clarify a lot. I think there's a lot because he was the face of ufology for quite some time, and then just disappeared because of the pressure. I mean, for a guy who worked at the Pentagon, pressure from the public, that's the reason. Come on.
Ty, so do you think that money that Senator Reid basically, he gave the contract and the award to Bigelow, is that what started the Bigelow Institute for Consciousness Research?
It's what catapulted it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Because NIDS, which for people who are unfamiliar, so Bigelow's always been kind of a nutty, one of those nutty real estate guys who got rich, in the 90s or 80s and 90s. And he was always really fascinated by the questions that we ponder.
The phenomenon.
And then all of a sudden he had the money to do something, and he created the NIDS, so National Institute of Discovery Science. And that was more based in the UAP field. That was more based in physical craft, that kind of stuff, advanced propulsion. That got him, in that time, he also built up a company called Bigelow Aerospace, and he did that with the $22 million.
He came from a family. Did you know he came from a family of experiencers?
There's no doubt about it. There's something in this guy. He went on 60 Minutes.
I don't remember if it was his parents or his grandparents who, as a couple, they had really profound UFO craft experiences. And I don't know if Bigelow is an experiencer himself, but I've heard him talk about that with his family. And I've actually had a chance to talk to him a couple times. He's a great guy. He's really awesome. So it sounds like that was kind of the seed money that he got the government contract to to open the consciousness studies, and he
ran that famous contest. Anyone who could prove life after death, formally, and I forget who won, but it was a guy from the Monroe Institute who won, and who had previously been to the Monroe Institute, which is a remote viewing. They teach you how to remote view, among other cognitive abilities that you can unlock. So
I went there, Ty. It was there in Virginia, not too far from where I lived. And actually, it was the Monroe Institute who directed the Army in their remote viewing programs. So as the Army was developing its protocols for military remote viewing, it actually they consulted with the Monroe Institute. And it was actually the Monroe Institute who had been using the binaural beats, and they kind of had the protocols already. So the Army military remote viewing protocols really came from the Monroe Institute, who had been doing this for a long time. They're very cool. They're very cutting edge. They're out there in the beautiful, scenic areas of Virginia. And so it doesn't surprise me that that's, who won Bigelow's contest. I remember that contest. But I love Bigelow. I think he's doing a lot of cool stuff. And so it sounds like that's where he got the money from. So what is the KONA? Okay, so you talked about LUE Elizondo, and he just kind of stepped out, you said, but it's a lot of pressure being in the public eye, especially
they're trying to say,
family.
but they're trying to say that this slide proves that Elizondo headed the ATIP program. And all I'm pointing out